Hey guys, thanks so much for joining us today. I am Jessica Hardy-Migdry. I am the category manager here at BSN Sports for aquatic sports. And previously I was an Olympic gold medalist in 2012. But since the onset of the pandemic, BSN Sports has hosted over 250 free clinics and webinars geared towards helping coaches, and more than 300,000 have registered for a live event. We're so appreciative of our coaches, and we will continue to host more free content to help. Today, we have a very special treat for you all. Thanks to our mutual partnership with Speedo, we get the opportunity today to chat with world record holder and Olympic silver and bronze medalist, Regan Smith. Our goal today is to talk with Regan about all things butterfly. She will share her favorite drills, practice sets, technique advice, and more. We look forward to this live Q&A where she will be accepting questions from attendees as well. Please feel free to type in any questions at any time using the live chat feature. At BSN Sports, we believe that coaches and administrators like you all on this webinar will impact more lives in a calendar year than normal people will in their entire life. Our goal as a company is to save you time and give you tools off the deck so that you can impact more lives on it. Now more than ever, we realize how valuable coaches and administrators are to our student athletes. So with that, I would love to introduce you to Regan. Regan, thanks so much for being here today and welcome. If you want to turn your camera on and get started. Hi, good to see you.
Hi, so good to see you, Jessica. I'm so excited to be here. I'm doing really great. Yeah, super excited for this opportunity and to just answer some questions about butterfly. And I think this is going to be a really fun Q&A. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, let's keep this casual, like if you want to tangent off onto a different topic or sidetrack, if anything and everything you want to share with us, we're really grateful and excited to learn from you as well. I'm going to go ahead and start with like the basics, the beginning, day one, growing up. Did you have an interest in sports personally, or was it a family influence? Why swimming? What attracted you to the sport?
Yeah, so it's actually a really funny story. So growing up, my parents put my sister and I in a bunch of different sports, soccer, basketball, gymnastics. We did piano also. They really wanted us to be well-rounded individuals. And we were in swimming lessons as well, not competitively, just to, practice water safety because that was very important to them. But both my parents growing up, I won't even sugarcoat it. They did not like swimming. My mom, she quit swimming lessons on her third day because they threw her into the deep end and it terrified her. And my dad was that kid who would hide in the bathroom during middle school swim practice. Like pretty classic, like they just did not like it. And so they didn't want my sister and I to be like that. So that's why they put us in the water doing swimming lessons from an early age. And both of us really enjoyed swimming, but we had other sports that we spent more time on, like I said, such as soccer or basketball or whatever it was. And then my sister, she's 5 years older than me. And when she got into middle school, she joined the middle school swim team. And she loved it so much. Like she loved the racing component of it. And she loved that it was an individual sport, which is, really different from the soccer, the basketball, other sports that we were used to before. And the same time that she was joining that middle school swim team, my place where I was doing my swimming lessons at was closing. And I was so heartbroken. And I was just like, what am I going to do? And my parents were trying to look around for other swimming lesson areas or swimming lesson places in the area that we lived in. And I begged and begged and begged them for probably months to let me instead join a swim team instead of just doing swimming lessons. And they didn't think I was ready for that. They had heard that swimming, could be pretty intense. And they were like, I don't know, like you're only 7, like maybe we should just stick you in lessons and, keep doing that until you're out of elementary school or something. But I really pushed, and I don't really know why I pushed so hard. I think I just wanted to be like my sister, to be truthful with you. I really wanted to, follow in her footsteps and do what she was doing. And yeah, so I started a swim team like 2 months before I turned 8, and the rest is history. So it's a silly story, but yeah, I love telling it.
That is really cool. I know you come from a place where swimming isn't necessarily a popular sport, and you do come from a club team specifically with notoriously difficult workouts. So
Yeah.
how do you stay dedicated in that environment? Like what pushed you? And can you talk about through that amazing dedication, journey?
Yeah, and you are exactly right with coming from a club team that had, excuse me, really difficult workouts. So, for those of you who don't know, I swam on Riptide Swim Team in Minnesota for most of my club years, and I swam under Coach Mike Parado. And he is legendary. He's awesome, and he loved to make us work very, very hard. We did a lot of hard sets, and it did get really difficult to go to practice sometimes because being from Minnesota, we would wake up at 4:50 in the morning for our morning practices, and it would be like negative 20 degrees outside, and all I wanted was to stay in my warm bed, and there was no part of me that wanted to get out of bed and go jump in a cold pool and do a really hard practice. And I can honestly say, like, the biggest thing that got me through it was having my friends there with me. Um, Granted, I loved working hard and I wanted to be great also, but it was easy to forget that when you're in like the middle of a very hard practice. So I would always look forward to going to practice ultimately because all of my best friends were there. And I think I got really lucky that I found an insanely amazing group of people at Riptide. And I'm still friends with them to this day. We all keep in touch, even though, we're all grown up now and at our respective colleges, or some of us are even graduated and in the professional world now. But there was something that made us all so close, about like suffering that much together and going through those really hard sets together. It made us all really close, and we still talk about those practices to this day. Like, we love that so much, just like being in our group chats together. Like, even today I've had a few conversations with my friends of like, oh, remember when we did like this set this year. Yeah, so I would definitely say that my friends more than anything got me through those really hard times with Riptide for sure.
That's amazing. What other lessons from your club experience do you think helped prepare you to excel, down the road? I mean, you did excel in club days too. So in the moment, what lessons did you experience in that environment?
Yeah, I would say it taught me a lot about just the importance of hard work and making me tough. With Riptide, it was an incredible environment to be at, but there were just some little things here and there that I didn't realize it in the moment, but now, like, looking back, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, like, this really made me tough." And a few of those examples would be like, and this is kinda silly, but the water at Riptide was always super cold, and I would just, like, get in and deal. Like, I would never complain about water temperature because, like, that's just how it was. And I feel like I know so many people now who like will complain when the water's too cold or like too hot or something, and like they just like will let it affect them mentally and affect them at their practice. And I just feel like because of that, I've had a lot easier time like dealing with like cold water temps at like swim meets or like at different pools that we've trained at. Again, that's kind of a silly one, but it really mattered to me more than I realized. Like, after leaving Riptide, I was like, wow, like I feel like I'm, like, no hate to anyone else, but like I was like, I feel like I'm pretty like good with this stuff. Like, I don't really complain about that too much, which is good. Like, Riptide prepared me well. And I would say another thing is being able to do really tough sets with a lot of people in your lanes. And I know that with age group swimming, that's pretty common. Um, it's easy to kind of have some congested lanes when you have big groups, and it can be really difficult to swim in those conditions for sure. It's wavy, you risk hitting people doing butterfly or just swimming in general, and it can be, really tough to navigate, but it, again, like, it makes you so gritty, like, it makes you so tough. And then when you go on to maybe a little bit less crowded conditions in college or something, it just really like makes you appreciate that so much more, and like having that space so much more. And yeah, so that's something that I like look back on too all the time, and I'm just like, wow, like if I can do a really hard set in those conditions with like 5 people in my lane, then like I can work hard now and do my thing with like 1 or 2 other people in the lane. So yeah, again, some silly lessons, and they're kind of oddly specific, but they really have made a bigger impact on me than I realized. It just really, really taught me the importance of working hard and just like buckling down and getting my work done no matter the conditions.
Pretty cool. I think you mentioned that you alluded to it, in your answer, but that transition from club to college, where you do get more lane space, especially at a place like Stanford with a million pools. Can you
Yeah.
talk about that transition, athletically, academically, socially, personally, what was that like for you?
Yeah, and I think the transition is very different for everyone. You know, for some people, they go to college and it's a very big jump, you know, in the intensity of their training and how many training sessions they have, and their weight training is stepped up a peg. And it can be a really intimidating thing for a lot of swimmers. And I felt very lucky because, you know, I really got my butt kicked with Mike in high school. And so I really felt prepared for whatever, you know, Stanford had to throw at me. And then again, yeah, it was wonderful having that lane space, that change there. It was great. And it was a tough transition for sure, you know, like it is for anyone. You're in a new environment, you're with a new club team, new coach, totally new training plan. And for me, it was particularly different because growing up with Riptide, I was used to doing like co-ed swimming. So I'd be racing, you know, like the guys on my club team in practice every day. Whereas at Stanford, the teams are separated by a gender. So that was really different too, going from racing men to racing some really, really fast women every day at practice. It challenged me in a different way for sure. And I really enjoyed that aspect of it. But yeah, I would just say the hardest transition for me personally was just the environment change. You know, it was just like my world had gotten completely flipped upside down. You know, like I was swimming outside, and I had like one other person in my lane, and I was juggling in-person class again. Because throughout high school, I had kind of a hybrid situation going on where some of my classes were online and then some of them were in person. So, you know, I went back to doing full in-person classes, being a full-time student. It was just definitely a lot of change, but you know, I think I took comfort in the fact that, you know, everyone, you know, is kind of going through that as a college freshman. You know, it's a big change for a lot of people, and that made it a little bit easier for sure. But yeah, it was absolutely a transition. And I think that a lot of people don't talk about how hard the transition is to college until you go through it, which was something I thought was super interesting. Like I felt like I was going to be super prepared for it, but it really does hit you in a different way than you'd expect. But I think I learned a lot from that.
Yeah, I mean, super similar experience to you. I went to UC Berkeley and left after 2 years to turn professional. You know, definitely the better school in the Bay Area. I'm just kidding, but totally teasing, but totally super similar. I struggled as well. You know, I broke a world record in high school and definitely struggled as well with the academics, especially, and, you know, balancing it all. But can you talk about your, I guess, managing your time? Like how important was that? What was just some of your strategies to be successful throughout that experience?
Yeah, absolutely. So I feel pretty lucky also. I don't like I think throughout high school, all the traveling that we had to do for swim meets, and all the times that I would miss, you know, multiple days slash weeks of school, it really, you know, forced me to be responsible and communicate with my teachers ahead of time, and you know, be able to get my work done in like a timely manner and not have late assignments. And I also like, I'll just be straight up with you guys. I have a pretty anxious personality, and so I don't like to like not do things or like you know, have things be late. And so it's a blessing and a curse for sure, because I think it keeps me responsible and honest, but it can also make things a little bit higher stress for me. And so getting to college, I was like, you know, the academics are definitely going to be more rigorous. And, you know, I have to be prepared for it because we missed, you know, a lot of school for midseason and for our Pac-12 conference meet and for NCs and just our various dual meets. And it definitely got difficult at times. But, you know, um, I just had to make the decision of like, okay, like, do I want to, you know, like have fun right now and like sit down and like watch a TV show or hang out with my friends? Or do I want to try to get ahead on some of my work right now so that I won't have to be worrying about it like on the plane ride back home from my swim meet the night before class? And so it's just kind of doing things like that and learning to, you know, kind of set like responsibilities with yourself and keep yourself accountable. And I honestly think that I think swimmers get that taught to them naturally, whether they know it or not. And it can definitely be a little bit more difficult for certain swimmers than others. But for me, I feel like kind of just naturally swimming taught me really well how to manage my time. So yeah, I feel very fortunate about that. And so again, the transition from high school academics to college academics was not easy, but I did feel like I was prepared for it because of what I had gone through in high school.
Very impressive. Would love to hear about your decision to turn pro, move to Bob Bowman at ASU. I think you're there now. You know, how you're liking the Tempe weather compared to Minnesota in high school, and
Yeah.
you know, that whole process for you as well.
Yeah, of course. So that decision that I made, I am very, very happy that I made this decision. I'm loving my time here so much, but I'll start from the beginning. So Stanford has been my dream since I was literally 10 years old. Like in one of my very first swimming interviews, I said that my dream was to go to Stanford. So I literally spent half of my life with that dream of getting there and going to that school. And it just, when I got there, it just wasn't what I thought it was going to be, which makes me so sad to say. Like there were so many things I loved about it. I loved Coach Greg and Tracy. I think I clicked with them really well. I loved who they were as people, and I loved the swim team so much. I loved the group of girls. The campus was beautiful. And there were so many things that I loved about it, but what it came down to for me was the difference in training styles. And so, as Jessica and I have mentioned and talked about, my training with Mike was very difficult. It was very aerobically and endurance based. We did lots of high yardage, really difficult sets. And, at first I was kind of excited to get away from that and, move on to a different style of training under Coach Greg, just because he had a different philosophy, I think, which is totally fine because I think every coach is entitled to, what they believe works for their program. And I was really excited for that because, obviously Mike's training was really difficult and I've been doing it for, like 6 years at that time. And so I was like, hey, like I'm ready for this change. Like I'm really excited to try something else. And what I realized over the course of the year was that although Mike's training was really, really mentally difficult for me to get through, it was really what made me tick. Like it was what made me feel my most confident. I knew that what I did under Mike worked really, really well. And so I think just mentally, I started to realize throughout the course of the year that that was what was going to help me be the best swimmer that I could be. And so after the school year was over, I, sat down and I started thinking about some things. And I was like, I think I need a change and I need to have some training that's a bit more similar to what I had in high school. And I had a long conversation with my coach Mike about it and my parents. And we both agreed that, Coach Bob Bowman has a very similar philosophy to my coach Mike. And my coach Mike was like, I think that this would be a really good fit for you. I really trust Bob's training in conjunction to my training. And I just think that you'll do really well there and you'll be really happy with the training there. And that's ultimately just what it came down to. And I was so sad about the whole situation for sure. It really upset me, but I just think it was absolutely the right thing for me to do. And I'm so thankful for Bob for just taking me on because he definitely has his hands full with both the men's and the women's teams. And he has quite the big pro group now as well. So I just am so thankful for him and his willingness to take me on. But so this is the beginning of my 8th week here. I got here 7 weeks ago today, and it's just been absolutely fantastic. It's been very difficult for sure, but it just reminds me so much of home in the best possible way. And so like I'm definitely getting my butt kicked and things are really difficult, but I feel just so confident with this type of training that I'm doing because it just works for me personally. And again, it's like this type of training may not work for a different type of swimmer, and that's totally okay. It's just all about figuring out what makes you feel like you're going to be your best. And I feel really thankful that I think I kind of figured that out. And I feel like I'm in a really good groove and I'm enjoying the team down here a lot. And I just am trying to kind of ride this wave of positivity now. And I'm really excited to see how things go this season.
Pretty cool. I graduated from ASU after going pro for
Yeah.
a while, so I love your path. I'm a big fan of all of it. But yeah, absolutely would love to hear how it's going. Like, how sore are you? What so far has been your favorite set that you've done?
Okay. So we've done a lot of really fun ones. And off the top of my head, when you said that, the first thing that came to my mind was a set that we did. I want to say it was like 4 or 5 weeks ago. So it was still like towards the beginning of my time here. And it was a Wednesday afternoon, and we walk in, and it's 45-50s butterfly is the main set. And it was 10 of them on, oh gosh, it was either 10 of them on 45. Yes, it was 10 of them on 45, just like good technique, which is easier said than done. Short course. Oh my gosh, short course. Yes,
That's
need
what I
to
was gonna
clarify
say.
that.
That's rough.
That would have been tough.
Yeah.
So 10 of them, 45 short course just make it. And then 5 of them on 35, best you can do. So like your best effort. And then we went through that 3 times with no rest. So it was just like bam, bam, bam for I don't know how long that set was, probably 35-ish minutes roughly. And it was tough. It was just 35 straight minutes of butterfly and good technique and then going fast. And so yeah, it was difficult and it was a mental bear for sure. Cause like getting done with like number 3, I was like, oh gosh, like this already kind of hurts. And then knowing that I had 42 more in front of me, that was really tough. Absolutely. But
Wow.
but what made it easier for sure was everyone there was just so positive. Like no one was complaining when they got the set. They just kind of looked at it and they were like, all right, like this is what we're doing today. Like it's not going to be easy, but like we're going to get through it. And that really kind of helped me like calm down a little bit because originally when I looked at it, I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't know if I'm like capable of doing this. Like my goodness, like this is going to be really difficult for sure. But yeah, I was really able to feed off the positive energy of the other swimmers in my group, and I got through it and I did okay, and I love to tell the tale. So yeah, I would say um, that's probably one of the toughest ones we've done so far, and we've had a bunch others also, but that was definitely the one that like sticks out in my brain.
Pretty cool. There's a question from the audience, if you're okay with taking this one.
Sure.
How and where does kicking factor into your training, underwaters and surface work specifically?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Bob loves doing kicking basically every day. And so he'll have us do regular kick sets. It'll just be either 50s or hundreds typically. And it'll normally be like a preset to our main set. And he just kind of likes to sprinkle kicking in every single day just to keep our legs strong and also like fatigue us a little bit before the main set, just to, you know, bring that burn in before the main set starts. So I really have loved that a lot because kicking has been like, I've always really loved kicking, but I just think it's such an important part of your stroke, and having strong legs is so, so important. And so that really takes care of our surface kicking, absolutely. And we typically do some underwater kicking. We do that on Friday mornings typically, and we'll do some underwater sprints. We'll do like 25 sets typically, where we'll do like X number of 25s, and like every like second one or third one will be underwater for time, or any variation of that basically. So we'll take care of that a few days of the week as well. And then for me, what I like to do personally to help improve my underwaters, and I've been doing this since I was, gosh, probably 13 years old. I know I started it pretty soon after I joined Mike's club team when I was 13. Um, I would like walk into a practice, and let's say it was a Monday. So it was like the very beginning of the week. And I would say, okay, this week, every single underwater that I'm doing, whether it's like on my back or doing butterfly, I am going to do 8 kicks off every single wall, like no matter what. And then if it's freestyle, I would pick a lower number, like 3 or 4. But I would say like, okay, like no matter what, like this is what I'm going to do. Like no matter how tired I am, I don't get water up my nose, or I don't care if I get water up my nose, like this is what I'm doing. And it was really, really hard for sure. And I got so much water up my nose. I remember when I first started doing this, and it was so painful, but it made me a way better kicker, and it made me so much better at underwaters. And yeah, so just every single wall that I did backstroke or kicking on my back or doing butterfly, I always did a minimum of 8 dolphin kicks. And again, that number could be different for any swimmer. Like if you carry more water, it could be 6 or 5, or if you carry less, you could go up to 10 or whatever your number is. But that's always been something that I've done, and I still do it now that I'm here. And I'm trying to up that number to 9, but that's been easier said than done for sure. But I really like it because it just kind of keeps you accountable, and it's just like a little small goal that you can achieve every day at practice. So like even if you aren't really quite hitting your pace at practice that day, or you're kind of having an off day, at least you can walk away from that practice knowing that like you achieved something, like that you hit that goal of like doing your underwater kicks. So that's something that's really worked specifically for me. But yeah, that's kind of the whole umbrella of my kick work.
I love that. Did you start off with 8 from the beginning when you were 13, or did you start with a lower number and grow into 8?
Yeah, when I started, I did 7. So
Wow.
I know now that I'm 20 and it's 7 years later, and I've only like changed 2 kicks. But yeah, I really wanted to challenge myself because I remember I went to junior nationals, winter junior nationals, And I just got beat so badly by the older girls at underwater kicks. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like I just, I want to be better at this. And so I really challenged myself from the get-go, because I think like in a 200 backstroke short course, by the end of it, I'd be doing like 2 or 3 kicks off my wall. And I would again just get beat so bad by the other girls. And so I was like, okay, like I want to change this as soon as possible. And so I really pushed myself and jumped up to that number right away.
Pretty cool. That's impressive. Yeah, let's circle back. Like, what's your favorite kick drill, if you have a drill?
Kick drill, gosh, I don't know if I do have a favorite kick drill. I would say that something new that I've done since being with Bob that I actually really like is he likes side kicking. And that's been super interesting for me just because I think it helps with my body position a little bit. And like I just think it helps me think about keeping my hips up and yeah, just having a good body position in the water. And I really hadn't done like kick drills before that, and I honestly wouldn't even call side kicking a kick drill, but it's been a new kick that, I've incorporated since being with Bob, and I've really been liking it for sure. So I would say if you aren't doing kick drills or aren't doing side kicking, maybe that could be something that you try to incorporate and see how your swimmers like it.
I love it. And while we're on the topic of drills, what drills do you like? What's in your toolbox that you go to on your off days to help you find your stroke? Do you have go-to comfort drills that help you get in the rhythm?
Definitely, yeah. And is this specific for butterfly also now?
Sure, you can talk about hopefully the audience doesn't mind, but Reagan is a world record holder in backstroke as well. So we'd love to hear just in general, all of the above.
For sure. Okay. I'll start with fly because I feel like with fly, that can be like the easiest to feel like you're having an off day. Like fly can really hurt at the beginning of practice before you're warmed up. So honestly, for me, what I like to do is I like doing 3 strokes on my right arm, then 3 strokes on my left arm, and then 3 like really slow strokes of butterfly. And I typically do that with my head down because I find at the beginning of practice, if I breathe a lot on fly, like if I take a lot of breath swimming butterfly, my hips sink because I'm just like not warm yet, and I'm just like not really in the rhythm yet, and my stroke just like feels and looks honestly not very great. And so I find that if I take 3 one-arm strokes on one side and 3 on the other, and I'm breathing while I'm doing those 6 one-arm strokes, then I put my head down for 3. That really helps me keep my hips up, and then that kind of helps start to get me into the groove. And honestly, that's like my go-to. And I know that one arm kind of has a bad rap just because it looks like, you're kind of just like doing the easiest drill there is, like one arm butterfly, like what's easier than that. But it really truly does help me get into the rhythm because it's easier to kind of like undulate your body when you're only going with one arm. And then once you do that a few times, you can kind of get your shoulders a little bit loosened up and just kind of get into your stroke a little bit more. And then once you do start doing the actual butterfly stroke, I find it feels a lot more smooth and a lot less like creaky. So that's always been my go-to, like forever. And I promise it's not because I'm trying to cut corners or make things easier. It's just to try to help me get into my rhythm. And I'd say for backstroke, I really love doing either one arm backstroke or catch up backstroke. And so that's where like both arms are at your side and then you pull one stroke and then you pull the other stroke. That's been a new drill that I've done with Bob also, because normally catch up backstroke drill with Mike was where both arms were like out of the water, like pointed at the ceiling, which was way harder. It was like so hard to keep your body up like that. And so I respect that drill, but I don't like to do it super often. But so I really enjoyed this new catch-up drill where arms are at your side because it forces you to focus on your kick a lot more. But it's still kind of easier to keep your hips up and like really feel like you're in a good body position. And I like it as well because it allows you to just focus on one arm at a time and making sure that you're entering in a good position and that you're getting a really nice catch and pull. So I really like that one too. And as for freestyle, I really like this drill called triple switch, and it's a drill that Mike had always had us do. And it's just taking 3 strokes, and then on your 3rd stroke, you go long with one arm, and then your other arm is back behind you, and then you just kind of kick for like 3 or 4 seconds. And I just like that because it really allows you to like kind of hold your line with freestyle and just kind of like go long and just like feel, again, good body position and just kind of stretch out your stroke a little bit. because when you go into that holding position, you really like stretch out your front arm as much as you can. And I like that too, just because it can kind of get out any like tightness that I'm feeling in my lats. Because as swimmers, we can really get tight in that area. So I really like those drills for sure. And breaststroke, I don't even want to go into that area because you guys shouldn't get advice from me on breaststroke. That's your domain, Jessica.
Yeah, I got my stroke covered.
Yeah.
You got all the other strokes. It's awesome
Yeah.
insight. I appreciate that. That's so cool. We do have another question from the audience. Where do you feel your power or speed in different strokes originating? Like, what do you think about to connect with the water and go fast? Like your
Ooh,
power phase, I think.
that's a great question. I would say, and if you had asked me this question like even months ago, I would be like, gosh, I don't know. Because I feel like for the longest time, I just kind of swam and like didn't really think too much about it, which is okay. But I think that like now as I'm getting older, I'm really trying to like be more aware of my body and like where I'm feeling things and like how to engage things more. And I would say the biggest thing for me is my core. Like I really like to try to engage my core, and I think that helps me with literally everything. Like in backstroke, it helps me so much with my rotation, which then helps keep my tempo up and keeps my kicking strong and keeps me in like a good body position in the water. And so I really love being able to engage my core. And so to help with that, I've just been doing some simple core exercises, like 5 minutes a day, just to kind of help turn on my core muscles and just feel more engaged with those, and just be more aware of them too. So I would definitely say my core on backstroke and butterfly as well, honestly. It's such an important piece of your body to be aware of. And I feel like a lot of people can ignore it. Like I certainly did. Like before going to Bob, I feel like I wasn't really paying attention to it much at all, just because like, most people with swimming, you just think about using your arms and your legs and not much else. But honestly, holding my core really tight and engaging it has just helped throughout all of my strokes. And I feel like if I have a good, strong center and a good, strong core, then like everything else will be stronger because of it. I feel like the whole stroke really does start at the core for sure.
While we're on that topic, what's your favorite core exercise on land and in the water?
Ooh,
To activate.
okay. Yeah. Oh gosh, that's a good question. I
Sorry.
love a lot of different stuff. Yeah.
Sorry.
I love like I love doing like leg lifts or flutter kicks outside of the water. I love doing like bicycle crunches. I think that one's a lot of fun. I like doing like weighted sit-ups sometimes if I'm just like holding a dumbbell. This is so classic. Like I literally do core every day and do different stuff, and now I'm blanking. But honestly, I think any core exercise is a good core exercise for sure. So you just really can't go wrong. And in the water, I just like good old fashioned dolphin kicking on your back, because you know that you're doing it right if it really, really starts to burn in your core for sure. Like it's a very, very good ab workout, absolutely. And so every day at practice, I do a little bit of dolphin kicking on my back during warm up or in the preset, just to kind of, make sure everything's activated and feeling good.
So interesting. I wish I knew this stuff when I swam. Maybe I wouldn't have been doing that. This is cool. I just got another question. What's the biggest mistake you see other people make in butterfly?
Oh, oh
Like
my gosh.
if you see someone
Yeah.
struggling and you could help them, what would your best advice be?
Yeah. I would say I see a lot of either like bend in the arms. My coach Mike always called it chicken leg or chicken limbs, like when you kind of go like this instead of being able to be long, or not being able to find your rhythm between your upper body and your lower body. And for the upper body with the chicken arms, I know, and I'm sorry to call it that. It's just what I'm used to hearing my coach call it. Um, I would really, this is just me personally, and I don't know if it's right or not. But I would really try to focus on doing like one arm at a time and doing one arm butterfly, not necessarily during the main set, because again, you don't want to look like you're cutting corners or doing anything. But if you're trying to drill and help someone figure out how to, stop having that bend in their arm when they're doing butterfly, just really like reinforce that straight arm when you're doing one arm butterfly. And I think that could really help a lot, because a lot of people, when they do one arm butterfly, they don't have that problem. And then for some reason, when they do both at once, it can kind of do that. So I think really thinking about one arm at a time could help with that problem for sure. And with the connection or the disassociation between like the legs and the arms, I would say it would be a good idea to like start from scratch and like first just start kicking and doing the bottom half, and then going with just the upper half. And you could put like a pull buoy in and just try to do some pull butterfly and just take the legs out of the equation for a little bit. And then I think once they've got both down, you could like put them both together and try to start them really slow that way. And butterfly, it is such a tricky rhythm to get down for sure. But I truly do just think it's a practice thing. It's just like the more you do it, the more your body will naturally want to try to get into that rhythm. And the biggest thing for me that I do to try to keep my rhythm, connected and feeling strong is I really just try to think about keeping my hips up and then pressing my chest down at the same time, which kind of helps like with that undulating motion, which will help get you into a better rhythm. So those are my tips. Yeah.
They're cool secrets from Regan. Thank you for this. Awesome. So let's go back to some workout inspiration ideas. Like, let's talk about a very difficult mid-season set that you enjoy, and then a taper for speed type set that you enjoy, kind of the contrast between that, if you're up for sharing.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll talk about my mic workouts now, just because my time with Bob has been limited. And I'll preface this by saying one of the really amazing things about Mike is that he loves doing a workout one time and then never doing it again. And so I've done so many workouts only once, and we'll do maybe variations of it, but like we'll almost always do something different, like he's not really a man of repetition. Like he loves to kind of keep us on our toes and always have us do different things. And so like whatever set I'll tell you, it's like I've probably only done it one time. So it's really kind of interesting. But I actually spoke to Mike yesterday, and I wrote down, like we were talking on the phone about like some of like the hardest / like best sets that I've done throughout my career. And I wrote a few of them down because I didn't want to forget. And
Oh, nice.
so there was, yeah. So there was this one set that we did, oh gosh, I think it was last April. So, or 2 Aprils ago. So April 2021, about a month and a half out from Olympic trials. So we were like pretty deep in our groove, like working pretty hard. And we did this set long course, and it was 3650s butterfly. And it was broken up into 3 rounds of 12 with 100 easy in between each round of 12. And all 36 of them were supposed to be as fast as you can go. So like no pace, like no like working into it, just like go. And his goal for me was to hold like 29s or 30s the entire time. And I did not, but I tried my best. But it was, so like I said, 3 rounds of 12, and it was 45-second interval for the first one, then 50 seconds on number 2, then 55 seconds, then a minute, then 105, then 110, and then 110 again, and then 105, and then back down to 45. And so we went up the ladder of intervals and then back down.
Short course, just to clarify.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Short course.
Yes. Oh no, long course. Yeah.
Dang, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was a long course set. Yeah.
Thanks. That's amazing.
Yeah. So it was really tough for sure. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I still remember that set very vividly. But yeah, so it was 45 seconds up to 110 and then back down again the ladder, and then we had 100 easy, and then we do that 2 more times. So that was insane. That was insanely difficult. And then again, like him wanting me to hold 29s or 30s, I was like, I'll try my best, but like it was tough. So that for sure,
Wow.
really, really tough set. Yeah. And there was this other set that we did, and this was short course. And I've done this set twice. I did it once with the swim team, and then I did it once the following year by myself. And it was summer of 2018 and summer of 2019, respectively. And it was like 950s fly on 45 seconds. I think just like have good technique and good rhythm. And then we just had like 100 free smooth. And then we did a 400 butterfly all out. And then we got like 2 minutes rest. And then we did 675s fly, like good technique, like good stroke count. And then we had like 100 free smooth. And then we did a 400 fly for time. And then we ended, I think, with like 1625s butterfly or something. Again, just like good technique, smooth, and then a 400 butterfly for time. So that was really, really difficult too, just because like a 400 fly is such a bear, like it's just like 4.5 minutes of straight butterfly swimming, and it's just brutal. Because the first time we did that set was when I did it with the entire team, and there was like 4 or 5 people in every lane, and so we were hitting each other constantly, and it was just like really, really difficult mentally to get through. And the second time I did it by myself, which was good because then I had no waves to worry about, but it was also really, really difficult because I didn't have anyone else like to do it with, so it was just like all me. So those are a few that I've done mid-season that are really, really hard, but have really helped me. And then I would say for my like favorite taper sets.
Before, can I interrupt really
Yeah,
fast? We have a question
yeah.
from the audience related to that last set specifically. How do you keep your technical details from devolving on a set like that? Is technical
Oh my
breakdown the
gosh.
point, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah. And it can be so hard for sure. Cause when you're swimming, distances that far, it can be so easy for your stroke to just fall apart. And I start thinking really, really hard about my underwaters, honestly. And I know that it's so difficult because you can't breathe that way. And on butterfly, it's so taxing. Like you just want to get air as much as you can. But in order to get air, you have to use your arms. And your arms are kind of the first thing to go on butterfly. And so I just really, really had to train myself to really work on extending my underwaters. Because when it's a set short course, the further you go underwater, the less that you have to use your arms, and ultimately like the longer that you can go. And that's so much easier said than done to extend your underwaters, because like I said, like you need that air and you end up spending so much time underwater not breathing. It can be so difficult. But I found that your body is stronger than your mind believes, for sure. And it's only as hard as you think it's going to be. And so I would just tell myself like, okay, like this is what I'm doing, this is how I'm going to extend my underwaters, and it's going to be easier on my upper body, so I just have to buck up and do it. And it would always be really tough for the first few strokes after I came up underwater, but over the course of the entire set, my arms would be like feeling so much better than my teammate, say, who was doing like 2 kicks off every wall. And so I'd say that's what really helped me. And again, it's so much easier said than done, and I completely understand that. But I would say that's the biggest thing, just emphasizing extending those underwaters as much as you can. Yeah, that's the biggest thing for sure.
I like that mental acceptance of what you're going to, a commitment of what you're going to
Yeah.
do. I think staying calm and keeping your anxiety down is probably the hardest part of underwaters from my perspective, someone who's struggled with underwater. So that's a cool point. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah, and you're absolutely right about like it can be a really scary thing, and I totally get anxious about it too. Like it can be really difficult because you can't breathe, you're like way underneath the surface. It's scary for sure, but yeah, just having the acceptance of like this is what it's going to be. I will survive, like I'll get through this. And that helps me a lot for sure.
Hopeful.
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks. If you wanted to share your taper workout too, we would love to hear that. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah. No, no worries, of course. And so with taper workouts, I didn't have a specific one, but Mike really loves to just kind of shorten things a lot. So he really likes doing, when it gets close to race time, we'll do like some off the block sets. And it'll just be like X number of 50s off the block, really working on technique, but also having really good power and speed. And they're tough for sure because they can kind of like build the lactic acid that way. But I always really loved them because they were a lot shorter and we'd get out of there quicker. And a 50, I think, is a lot more mentally easy to prepare for than like a 400 fly. So yeah, we would always love doing shorter sets like that. And then we'd get like a really good warm down after just to flush everything out so we weren't sore the next day. But yeah, we love just doing, he called them stand-up days. So we'd go off the blocks and do 50 stand-ups like that. So yeah.
Fun, impressive. That was like my normal workout. So I love
Yeah.
that. I was a sprinter, so I'm super impressed by all of this. So cool. So we have more questions from the audience if we're up for them. You mentioned that you like to pull fly, or that you do pull fly. How much of that do you incorporate into your daily practice? For example, Haley Flickinger is legendary for doing so much pulling of fly at meets. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I didn't know that actually, but that's super cool. I've never seen her do it, but I don't deny it. She like does some really impressive and difficult stuff. But I really pull fly like whenever I can. And so if we do like a pull set, like during warm up of practice, sometimes Bob will say like, oh, on this pole, you can mix strokes, do whatever you please, like just do your thing. And then Mike would sometimes do that too. Like if we'd have a pull set, he would be like, hey, pull stroke on this. You can pull backstroke if you want, or like try breaststroke or butterfly. And I always really liked pulling butterfly because I know it is pretty difficult, but I like it because it's easier, I think, on your lungs. It's not as taxing for some reason, so you don't get out of out of breath. And I really like it because it really, really focuses you to have a strong upper body. Like it's so easy to be kind of, I guess, lazy when you're pulling butterfly because you don't have those legs to kind of carry you through. But I really like it for sure because it just forces me to have a really good stroke with my arms and, you know, really get out in front of me and get a good pull and then get a good recovery underwater. Or excuse me, get a good pull underwater also. So I really always liked it. And I wish I could do it more. Like I kind of wish it was something that we did more often, but I just kind of do it whenever I can. With Mike, it was always like a beginning of the season type thing. We would do a lot of stroke pull. Like I did so many like 200 breaststroke pulls with Mike also. Like he just loved doing stroke pull, but we would always kind of stop that about a month and a half into the season. And then kind of get into our main work. So I think it's a really good kind of beginning of the season thing to do, just to kind of set your stroke up. At least that's what's worked in my case.
Aerobic, yeah, but getting an aerobic base.
Yeah.
The technique pressure, I like that. That's cool. All right, we have another question. What's the best tip you can give when training on a set that's killing you? What do you personally work on to keep your tempo and form?
I would say that I always like take a mental route, I think, because the first thing to go on a really killer set is your mindset. And it can be really easy to just kind of check out and be like, okay, like I'm just going to go into survival mode. Like I don't care how anything looks, like I just want to make it. And like it's so easy to take that route, but I always just try to remind myself that like I'm going to get through this set no matter what. So I can either get 100% out of it or I can just barely scrape by and do the bare minimum to make it through. Because I know no matter what, I'm going to walk away from this set alive. And I can either look back and be like, wow, like I gave everything I could into that set and it was so, so difficult, but I'm so glad I did it. Or I can walk away from the set and be like, dang it, like I could have given more and I didn't. Like I let myself get scared and back off and I don't want to do that. And I've had so many of those days because it's so easy to get scared and get in your own head and just kind of back off. Like it kind of happened yesterday. We had this set doing butterfly and it was killer. And I really just thought that I like wasn't going to make it. And so I totally backed off. And I hate to say that, like, you know, cause I put so much emphasis on the importance of hard work and I take so much pride in my ability to work really hard and push myself. But like yesterday is a prime example of on a butterfly set, I just got scared and I think I just kind of held back too much. And in the moment, it feels like you're doing enough, but then you always walk away and you're like, oh, like I could have given something more. So I think it really starts with the good mental attitude and just being like, I can do this no matter what. And when it starts to hurt, I try to think of little things that I can do to be better. So instead of thinking about the set as a whole and being like, oh my gosh, like we still have like 1,500 more yards of this set, like, oh my gosh, this is terrible, it's never going to end. I try to be like, okay, like I have one swim in front of me right now. Like, what can I do to make this like better for myself? Like, what can I do in the underwaters to, you know, help me improve there? How can I really snap my turn and make it super fast? So I really just try to think about the little details because if I think about the set as a whole, then everything just kind of goes to heck, you know, like you just start freaking out and you're like, oh, I can't do this. I won't be able to finish. So yeah, positive mental attitude for sure. And then really breaking things down into super tiny pieces so that they're easier to attack.
Like a very specific looking at the stair, not the whole staircase, like
Yes,
very,
yes,
very small stair. I love that. That's cool.
yes.
Good advice. And then another question is, how do you jump out of a bad mental place if you found one, you know, during a set and then turn it around into a good one if possible?
Yeah, and oh my gosh, that can be so, so difficult. And there will be days for sure when your bad mental attitude wins. And that's just how it's going to be sometimes because we're all human. And what the most important thing about that is to not let that get to you. You know, it's just important to put that away and come back again the next day with a fresh attitude ready to go. So that's what I try to do if that happens. Like, you know, again, yesterday, like I left the practice being like, shoot, like I could have done more. And so instead of being like, oh, like, you know, like things just didn't go my way today, like I'm feeling really down now. I instead was like, okay, like what happened, like was unfortunate, but I'm really going to use this and let it light a fire under me so I can be excited to really give it my all today. So that's really what I tried to do there. And I also, I think when things get tough, I try to feed off my teammates for sure, because there's something very comforting again about like doing a really, really hard thing together. And so sometimes if things are going really bad, like even if I just give a teammate a smile and I'm like, okay, like I'm not having a super fun time, but I know they aren't either. So it's like I don't want to let them down, you know, and like it's like I don't want them to let me down. So we just got to do this together and hold each other accountable. That helps me a lot too, for sure. And I think that can be difficult, like if you're doing a set alone, for example, because then you don't have any teammates to work off of. And I think when that happens, I try to really have an open and honest relationship with my coach. And like if I'm really feeling crummy for like a long time throughout the set, I'll just like totally be honest. Like if I have a few seconds on the wall, I'll be like, coach, like I'm really struggling right now. Like this just isn't going the way that like I want it to, or like I'm feeling really like negative right now. And normally they'll always, you know, have something super positive and reinforcing to say. And whether that's just like, okay, like you got it, like you're so talented, just keep working hard, you're doing the best you can, and that's what matters. That helps me for sure too. And sometimes instead they'll be like, they'll tell me to break things down into really small pieces. Like what I said on the last question, it's just like, okay, well, like don't focus on the times, like focus on how many kicks you're doing underwater. Like don't even think about the times, or, you know, really think about snapping your turns, or really think about like pressing your chest down on butterfly, or, you know, so they give me some little detail to focus on instead to kind of distract myself from the set. And that's always really worked very well for me. So again, totally easier said than done. And there will be days where you just can't beat that negativity. And that's totally okay. It's just important to leave that on that day and just be able to start fresh the next day.
Something that worked for me personally was to recognize when I had a negative thought or a negative mentality and kind of narrate it, you know, like, you know, almost looking at it like I was narrating what was happening, and then, you know, accepting it, moving on without judgment, and just trying to let go, you know, and start over, and then all the other same techniques you used as well. So I mean, swimming is so mental. I think whatever works for your athletes it's something to hold on to, but super helpful to hear that. Thanks. I think we have another question from Anna about, can you tell us about your diet, nutrition, what to eat in and out of season, if you're up for sharing?
For sure. Yeah. So my nutrition has been a work in progress for forever. And again, I want to be completely transparent with you guys when I talk about my nutrition. So um, growing up, I didn't have the best diet at all. So my parents were divorced and my mom worked. And so she loved cooking, but she didn't have time because she worked a 9 to 5. And my dad, love him so much, he did not like to cook at all. And so he didn't want to like pick me up from practice, then come home and cook me a meal. So many nights of the week when I had swim practice, we would, you know, swing through a Wendy's drive-through or a McDonald's drive-through, or we go to like Applebee's and I get like pasta and chicken wings. So growing up, it was just like food is fuel no matter what. And so it's just important that you're consuming enough calories to keep you going, because in swimming, we burn so many calories. And so it's just important that you're consuming enough. And so that worked for me for a while, but then, you know, once you hit a certain age, it's definitely important to think more about, you know, what you're eating, not just that like you're eating enough. And again, I'm not perfect for sure. Like I could always, you know, have a more balanced lifestyle for sure. But I something that I've done, especially now that I'm out here living by myself and I don't have my parents to cook meals for me or help me do things or do my grocery shopping, is I really just try to make things super easy for myself and just like make the same thing every single day, which I know can sound kind of boring, but I kind of love it because it keeps me on a good routine and I know what's coming and I know that it works really well for my body. And then, I change things up on the weekend when I'm not swimming because I can have more fun with what I'm doing. So I like eating out on the weekends for sure. Like I'll always love fast food hamburgers and stuff like that. Like you can't take me away from that. But during the week, I'll just give you like a typical day of eating. I love like starting my day with like either eggs and toast or like a breakfast sandwich or like protein oatmeal with some fruit in it. I love that so much. And for lunch, I love having just like a simple deli sandwich or a PB&J or like a chicken salad sandwich. And I'll have like some carrots and hummus on the side with that, and, like some trail mix or just like some mixed nuts. And I love like sprinkling little snacks in there too. Like I like eating, like Cliff bars or different protein bars, and having like a banana. And then for dinner, I actually get like a meal delivery service. So like just like one of those like boxes that like comes to your door every week, and they just like have all of, like the prepackaged ingredients in there. And so I love that too, because that kind of like breaks up my routine a little bit and allows me to have some more flexibility and fun with my meals. But my point to all of this is that it's always important to just have like a carb, a protein, and like a healthy fat at like all of your meals, because I think that really keeps you satiated and sustained for the longest period of time. So that would be my biggest tip for sure. My boyfriend's a kinesiology major, a nutrition major, so he's taught me a lot for sure. And yeah, he always said like protein, carb, and fat at every meal, and just making sure that you're eating enough meals that your body can stay sustained and feeling energized throughout the day. That's like definitely the most important thing.
I'm going to interject that I eat the exact same meals as you every day. So yeah, it works. That's a good,
I
good
love that.
It's pretty funny. Same snacks, same meal delivery, everything. But I think we're out of time. So really excited and grateful to learn from you and all of this. We have a lot more questions that came in, and we appreciate everyone's participation in keeping this conversation so dynamic. Huge thanks to everyone who attended, and huge thanks to Regan for the time and the wisdom, sharing so much of your insights. All of us would love to cheer you on. If you want to share maybe your social media platforms or how we can support you, as you're continuing on kicking butt, we would love to be able to support you.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. I just appreciate all of your support so much, and taking the time to listen to me for the past hour. It means a lot. And I just hope that I gave you some beneficial information today. This was really fun. And my basically my only social media that I like currently use, I'm not a Twitter girl, so I'm just on Instagram at Regan Smith and then the number 4. So if you want to follow me on there, that'd be awesome. And just thank you again so much. I really truly do appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to me. It means a lot. And I just love that I'm able to give back to the sport in this way now. It feels really cool to do this for you guys.
You're amazing. Well, we would love to cheer you on and look forward to staying in touch, and watching you continue to dominate. We're all cheering for you, and thanks so much for your time. And thanks to Speedo for allowing this webinar to happen today. All of us at BSN Sports, thanks everyone for attending. Have a good day.
Thank you.